Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Arturs Neiksans and I'm back with my bootcamp. Yeah, so every Friday as usual I'm making a specific show which I've titled as GM Neiksans Bootcamp, that's me. And if you were present in the previous bootcamps and the previous streams which typically happen on Friday, then you might have noticed that every single week, every Friday, I try to devote the time for something specific. Well, the count is, I sort of lost it. I mean, this is either the 11th or 12th bootcamp in a row. And today, I've chosen a new topic. And the topic sounds the Reti opening. Before I start to show some simple lines for you to learn how to play Reti opening without really studying heavy lines, there's a little backstory. Yeah, there's always a little backstory. So what is Reti, right? I mean, of course, we have to start. What is Reti? Reti is very simple. Named after the famous Grandmaster Reti. He was pretty much the first one who popularized this continuation with knight f3, g3, bishop g2, short castle. And what I really like about this setup is that it is pretty much universal. You can choose it against, doesn't matter what your opponent is playing, and you're solving quite a lot of headache what setup to choose. I mean, it is up to your opponent. And the backstory, which I promised, is that I've always been an e4 player, right? I mean, this e4 was the first move which was shown by my first chess coach, and the second coach, and the third coach, and I was playing e4 all the time. And the story goes that after some time, I started to express some dissatisfactions with certain rising positions. I sort of didn't feel that they suit my playing style, and I do believe that choosing the proper opening is really important, that you feel comfortable. And I did not. I was playing some open Sicilians without really deep preparation, and sometimes I was happy, sometimes I was not, but in most of the times I really had this feeling I have no clue what I'm doing here. So this continued for quite some time, when I decided it's enough. I mean, I need to change something. And for most of the time, I was pretty much working alone. I mean, I was visiting some chess coaches, but during my entire career, I was mostly relying on myself. And I decided, what is this simplest possible way how white could try to get out of the opening and get an easy to play position? I was thinking about d4, I was thinking about c4, and then my eyes landed on knight f3. And back then, knight f3 was quite popular by certain top-level players, as Vladimir Kramnik, as Levon Aronian, and pretty much every single player of the top level has chosen knight f3 as part of their repertoire. So the idea is, again, very simply, we want to play g3, bishop g2 and short castle, but again, of course, it really depends how black is going to play. So the goal is, I could show you several simple setups, what black could try to play against you, and how you could potentially play against them. Not always you'll get an advantage. Yeah, so because I believe Reti is really an excellent weapon, especially let's say you're playing in a tournament and you have not prepared, it's the morning game, let's say there are 2 games in the day. I mean, people who played in tournaments probably will recognize this feeling, and then, okay, I'm just gonna play knight f3, develop some pieces and see what happens. So let's go with probably one of the most challenging continuations, which is in black's disposal. So black plays d5. I'm gonna include also some early c4 advancements because I couldn't really rely simply just on the Reti opening, and I was trying from time to time to include elements from the English opening as well. But I'll show you the examples, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So d5, g3, and let's say black is continuing something like high Varus 934. So let's say black is playing c5. And essentially, when we look at this position, you'll see it is something like Grunfeld, right? Let's imagine we're playing with white, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5. Yeah, so the idea is quite similar. And black intends to play knight c6 and e5. So I think there should be one major rule: you should not allow that to happen. So, sorry about confirm that the audio is okay. This is my new mic. I had this already in one of my streams. Sinister Clips, can you confirm everything is okay? This is the same Cody. Okay, yeah, you know what? This is weird. Yeah, sometimes I apologize about that. Thank you that you said immediately, because for some reason when I plug it in and I test the sound before the stream, everything is okay. And then I start the stream, it was like that. One of my previous streams, somebody said, okay, your audio is lagging. Yeah, there's not lagging, but there's an echo. Yeah, so thank you about that. There seems to be some issue with connecting. I don't know why, really. But okay, it's resolved. So black here intends to play knight a6, e5. And like I said, in your best interest is try to stop this. So I propose to play bishop g2, knight c6. Oh, sorry, forgot to switch off the sound. And again, we are not allowing for black to play e5. And we are playing d4 ourselves. And this feels like really a great version of the Grunfeld, because essentially in the Grunfeld you've made an extra tempo of bishop g2. For example, black would try to be very aggressive and exactly line one of the Grunfeld major lines. Notifications off too. Yeah, why did you, by the way, Fat Cody, why did you change your nickname? Yeah, the same Cody. What was your previous nickname? Did you forget your password? Yeah, okay, so c takes on d4, knight d4. And here actually it would be really great. It wouldn't hurt that you'd have some knowledge from the Catalan. So in the Catalan, the bishop on g2 typically is quite an important piece. And you try to open the long diagonal for this bishop. So let's say black does something like... okay, we are going to have a look, of course, of e5. And let's say black does something like knight f6. So you want to play c4, threatening to take on d5. So for black, it's already sort of uneasy. Again, e5 is going to transpose. But let's say black does something, takes, and takes, and now you want to take on d8. Queen d8, king d8, you sacrifice this pawn, the king is walking, and bishop f4, either knight a3 or knight e2, followed by long castle. Black has no time to think about this pawn. Yeah, Fat Cody, exactly. What about d takes on c4? Yeah, so this is quite a tempting continuation, because when we look at this position, yeah, black would play knight takes on d4, queen d4. Everything else looks rather bleak, right? I mean, white is threatening to take it here, and after d takes on c4, black might think that you will want to take this pawn, and actually you could. I mean, this is still a better position for you, because the bishop is so strong. Yeah, okay, wrong diagonal. This is a very strong bishop, and typically, as in Catalan positions, the bishop on c8 is going to be struggling to defend this pawn, and it will be struggling to be developed. And something like rook b8 typically is met by bishop f4. But I believe that queen d8, destroying the king's possibility to make a castle, is even better. High sleepy Mara as well, yeah. So of course, I mean, black won't do this, so if he goes for this, he might be tempted to do something like immediately grab the center, e5. Now, if we compare this position with the Grunfeld, in the Grunfeld, your bishop is on f1 and you are playing the black. Here the bishop is, wait a second. Oh, you mean right away? Okay, that's a valid question. So you mean here. No, d takes on c4 is just knight takes on c6. This is just bad, right? Because b takes on c6, you can just take it on c6 and there's the rook under attack. So that's the idea. That's the idea. You are already opening this bishop and targeting the knight on c6. So for example, let's say black with something else, like e6 made sense. And here already is quite annoying, c takes on d5. And black doesn't really have a satisfactory continuation here. Yeah, no it does. I mean, I've played this. And let's say after knight e5, knight c6, b takes, black is left with a weakness here, and it's very easy for you to play something like castle b3 here, queen c2, position perhaps either knight through d2 or a3 to c4, just pressure this pawn and at the right time play e4 to get rid of this knight. And if black takes with the e pawn, then the matters are even more simple because now he has this isolated pawn on d5. So you just play either short castle right away, I think it really makes sense, or knight c3, I just don't know which is more precise. Bishop c5, already black has to reckon with knight b3 and the pawn is under attack. So something like bishop e7, castle, castle, and probably even as simple as either bishop e3, or you can think about some ideas to position the b3, bishop b2, e3, and pressure this pawn on d5 until your opponent, until he is completely annoyed. Anyway, so this is not great. It's not great, but this is quite a standard response by somebody who doesn't really possess great knowledge how to play against Reti. So he might think, I mean, if you are giving me quite a lot of freedom to grab the center, I might just as well try to and use it. So again, knight c6, d4, typically plays a black c takes on d4, knight d4, and let's go to e5. e5, we capture on c6, and if you're familiar with some ideas in the Grunfeld, the continuation is very easy. So your plan is to play c4, knight c3, and target this pawn on d5. So you can go it right away. Knight f6. I mean, there might be some nuances. Should you include the short castle or not? I mean, okay, you can try. You could have tried to do it immediately, for example, only then play c4. And let's imagine black does something like. So your plan is to play knight c3 and bishop g5, right? To pressure this pawn. So he does something simple like this. Bishop e7, captures, knight c3 here, and bishop g5. So this can already be a problem because the pawn on d5 is in danger. Yeah, okay, I think here I probably slightly already misplayed things because black can try to sacrifice it. d4, bishop a8, queen a8, and black has access to bishop h3. Let me check what was more accurate here. Yeah, I think it was, knight c3, bishop e6, and not take on d5, but bishop g5 right away. Okay. That was accurate. Yeah, hi Frappuccino. Do you have to fianchetto? No, you don't. You don't. I mean, what I love about Reti is it is the improviser's opening, and I don't really know where really specifically ends the Reti and starts some kind of improvisation, because Reti, classical Reti, as I understand, it is meant by knight f3, g3, bishop g2, short castle, and d3. So if you include some c4 I'm already not so sure if that is a Reti, but I'm quite happy with the rising results. And in particular, what I like about the Reti, that you can freely improvise and steer the game from the Reti to some kind of English opening, and then in the end you switch to d4, some Catalan, the major openings. So since I'm a professional player, for me it's, really fantastic. But for club level players, I think it's just an easy to play opening, and I think it's quite simple for beginners, Fatcody, exactly. So this is why I'm actually doing this bootcamp, to suggest you to play something simple, because I know that many people, I've noticed, not that I know, but I've noticed that many people play their openings just because either their idol plays the same opening, or a coach once told him to play this opening, but they don't really understand what they're supposed to do there. And if you like positional chess, if you like improvise, if you like to avoid really big theory, I think Reti is just excellent. All right, let's go back. So what did I miss here? So, of course, black doesn't have to do all of this. There's so many variations. And this is what I really like, is that you take away this decision from yourself. You just set up the Reti, and it really depends on your opponent, what he is gonna set up. It's not really like a Grunfeld, sort of like a Grunfeld with a one tempo Gustavs, yes. Yeah, I think it's great. But again, I already said it, this c5, knight c6 is not really a great continuation. So again, let's check this. So c5, bishop g2, knight c6. Again, we have to avoid black to play e5, otherwise black is going to enjoy a really good position. So we are pushing d4. Okay, let's imagine black takes it, right? C takes, knight e4, and black does, I don't know what. Instead of e5, what else is there? Because you want to play c4, short castle, knight c3, pressure the pawn on d5. So either he plays e5, or at some moment he has to play something like e6. And then he's going to be left pretty much, thank you for the hydrate. And then he's going to be left either with an isolated pawn on d5 or a weak pawn on c6. That's it. So, okay, let's imagine black does not take. What else he could do? He could try to play some kind of... actually, I'm not so sure if some kind of a Taimarov ratio from the Grunfeld here is possible. Doesn't seem so. I can play c4 because the bishop has left the queen side. But typical ideas that, let's say, d takes on c4, d5, this knight has no good squares. So probably he has to take it here, knight e5, and bishop g2, and it feels that black has made a way too high price just to win this pawn. You have a very powerful bishop, you're gonna grab the center, and at some time you might just grab this pawn, either queen a4 or a4, knight a3, knight c4, and you have a lot to show for the sacrifice pawn. Chevelin, what is Chevelin defense? I'm sorry, Jesse Classic, I don't know what's that. Maybe I know the continuation, but I don't know the title. I don't recognize it. And what else here? Something like bishop f3, bishop f3. Again, c takes is c takes, is not really great. Knight e4 is just bishop d5, and you have a better bishop. You are pushing away the knight, so black is struggling. Again, this bishop g4 might be a common idea in the Grunfeld, because white has this quite a popular continuation, bishop g5. Here, it doesn't really work. No, you don't give the initiative to your opponent on Raider. It's not really like that. I think you just, if you know what to do against various setups, you are not stressed. what to choose. Your opponent's essentially choosing, but I'm gonna show you various interesting setups that you can try to set up, and you'll see perhaps why I'm enjoying this. I'm now showing you the first example is what if your opponent tries to grab the center immediately. I think that's very, very challenging. So that's the reason why I'm starting with this. Everything else is not really that ambitious. Again, so c5, bishop g2, knight a6, we play d4, and let's say black does not take here. He plays knight f6, short castle. Again, the problem is with this bishop. Bishop g4, you might recognize the idea already from the Grunfeld. You are playing knight e5, take on c6, d takes c4, you're opening this bishop. Although technically this is of course a playable continuation, but I don't think I've seen it before. Here, by standard, black might try to play something as simple as e6. And now there's this tricky line which I would like to show you. What's the main thing in your mind when... You know, that's a super big question. I'm not so sure I can answer it that simple. Probably it would require for me something like 10 minutes. Can you ask more specifically? What do you mean? So here after I'm referring to Chess Classic, yeah. So here I suggest to play c4. And this position you can get from various orders of the moves. So the point again, c takes on d4, knight d4, we already recognize. Yeah, we want to take on d5, we want to create an isolated pawn, knight d4, queen d4, d takes, probably we can take it on d8. Probably. Although, I mean, queen c4, of course, is a good continuation. Black could try to take it here. D takes c4. Yeah, and yeah, good morning, Doji-san. Like the opening, what are your thoughts? What do you do for... You know, Reti is not really for aggressive player. At least I think so. Yeah, if you ask me such complex questions, I don't think I'll have the time to answer them. Perhaps something more simple. But why I chose Reti is because, like I said, I like to improvise. The first couple of moves for me are rather easy. Knight f3, d5, c4, that's something else. Yeah, chess lifestyle, you can also switch to d4, the second move. Yeah, that's a slightly different topic, how we can switch from to a different opening. Okay, so here if black plays d takes on c4, of course there's quite a sharp line with knight e5, but I'm gonna show you a very simple continuation, which I think you just need to know, and you can just scratch this opening. I mean, not this opening, but this line. Queen a4. So queen a4 idea is you want just to play knight e5. So if black takes the second pawn, I played this line already numerous of times. You play knight takes on d4. Queen takes on d4. Captures on c6. You cannot capture on c6 because black is losing a rook. That's a fork. And after bishop d7, you are playing rook d1. Black has to take it here. Takes, takes, takes. Here, rook c4. Allow a check, it's nothing. King g2, and you just drive it out. Very simple actually. Bishop c1, g5. I'm not sure I understand in which moment really. Yeah, so this queen a4 is quite a wonderful combination, and you just want to take it here. Of course, there is such combination as bishop d7, queen takes on c4, b5, queen d3, c4, queen d1. But again, I mean, it's very easy for you to play position. You have gained the center, so nothing for you to worry about, and definitely a great position to get after the Reti. I mean, of course, there is quite a lot more theory, and I don't expect they'll explain to you everything in detail, something like half an hour. No, not half an hour, like 1.5 hours. I'll explain to you everything in detail, and you'll come out experts up to GM level. Definitely not. But at least I hope to advocate a simple to play opening. So I started with the most aggressive one. So the c5, according to my experience, c5, knight c6 is more met at the club level. I've played against numerous grandmasters in various tournaments, various time controls, and I've noticed that c5, knight c6 at a good level pretty much is not played. Yeah, I assume because of this reason that white gets a really great Grunfeld with an extra tempo, and he intends to play c4, knight c3. Of course, depends how black is playing, and there are of course many tricky other lines, something like c takes, knight e4, queen b6. There's so many alternatives, but you can even switch to some kind of a classic Grunfeld where you have an extra tempo. That already should be great for you. Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, don't have the illusions, of course, that it's gonna be enough. It's just sort of like an intro to the lines, and perhaps you'll like what you'll see. Yeah, so at the moment we're looking at d5, g3, and let's check the next system. The next quite rare system, actually, I don't know what the title does bear, is knight c6. Yeah, knight c6 has been played not just on Ariel Marks. I mean, every single top level has pretty much played it. And with black, so this is quite a popular continuation, quite a popular line. So here black intends to play e5. Again, if black manages to play knight c6 and e5, he gets an excellent position. So this is the moment where I believe you have to switch to a simple d4. It might seem, wait a second, guys, this is not a Reti anymore. Yeah, you're correct. But what is the knight doing on c6? Because typically in these kinds of positions, the knight on c6 should be behind the c-pawn. So black should have advanced. Yeah, black should have advanced the pawn on c5 already to pressure the center. I mean, knight c6 is as lovely as it is. It's not really threatening the center. So there is quite a popular continuation. You might have seen at the top level recently, people have played bishop f5 with the idea to target early knight b4. I'm pretty sure, now I did not check or prepare these games, I'm pretty sure there were some high level games. High checkup. I'm pretty sure I started earlier than I intended. And at the highest level, something like Magnus Carlsen against Dingler Ren. Yeah, so that's the level. These are the people who are playing this. And knight c6, bishop f5 has seen some surge of activity. So, I mean, you could try to ignore it, of course. I mean, black might be thinking about queen d7, long castle, f6, c5, funny ideas, aiming for quick development. But I think knight b4 is not really that a big deal. So you just play bishop g2, and your idea is you want to play short castle, c4, knight c3. Very simple. So again, black does something like, I don't know, maybe queen d7. Yeah, queen d7. And if he wants to play bishop h3, let him. He is wasting so many tempos. Bishop f5, bishop h3, bishop g2. That's 3 tempos. Okay. And you can do something like a short castle, bishop h3, c4, takes. And typically for black, it's not a great idea to take it here, because after the traditional d5, this knight is not having really a great square to retreat. And this pawn on c4, you can always regain it back. Something like knight c3, e4, queen e2, and black won't really have time to focus on how to defend it. So typically black doesn't do this. So if he plays bishop f5 is sort of the modern move. So here black by standard he plays knight b4. Of course the idea is try to give some kind of a fork, but it's easy to notice it. Knight a3, e6, and probably the simplest continuation what you could play is play c6 here and knight c2. And again you're playing a very simple game, something like a short castle, b3, bishop b2, c4, and the knight can either go here or knight e1, knight e3. Like I said, black is at some moment pretty much close to equality or perhaps even equal, but you are getting a rich position. And for example, let's say when I'm playing against some very solid opponents, there's some locals, for example, here in Latvia, and I see he's playing e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, some Berlin Wall, some boring Italian, and this is the alternative, right? The position is close, there's so many maneuvers, there's so many ways to improvise. How do you think what I'll choose? I'll choose this one, because there's more ways to improvise. Yeah, I think white might have something here, but again, when you're playing the Reti, I wouldn't really say that you are targeting for very big advantage. You are just trying to get a reasonable position after the opening with a clear plan. Yeah, sinister clips. I like bishop g2 Retis. And I think I already mentioned it. I particularly love how it transposes, because I've played everything. I've played c4, I've played knight f3, I've played the Catalan, I've played d4, I've played everything else. And when you've played everything else, yeah, of course I'm a GM, but it does help. But when I've played everything, it allows me more freely to improvise. But when I was thinking about today's topic, I thought, but still playing just a simple Reti is at a club level, and even if you're not improvising, probably still a great opening to play. Yeah, there black could try to do something else after. Okay, bishop g4 is sort of lesser popular. That is the, so to speak, the old move. Yeah, it was more popular before bishop f5 and bishop g and knight b4 came up. So you're playing bishop g2, queen d7, and yeah, here I don't really remember. I think it was, yeah, you could make a simple short castle, a long castle, and you can already think about an improvised attack. Here you don't have to push c4 at all costs. You can go for c3, b4, knight b2, knight b3, knight c5, b5, boom, 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 boom. Club level. Not professional. That means club level. Yeah, that means, I mean, what is a professional? Professional is somebody who plays chess for the living, who teaches children, who is making a living of chess somehow. I mean, I don't know, maybe chess coach or a player or a streamer or whatever. I mean, that's a chess professional in my eyes. A club level player is somebody who is doing for fun. Right? I mean, somebody who likes to play it on Sundays and he just enjoys it. Maybe he knows some good theory, but still he is a club level player because he's not playing at a professional. That's how I treat it. Yeah, that's how I treat it. And because, yeah, of course, club level players and GM not GM players, but professional level players, they have slightly different goals in terms of what they want to achieve in opening phase. Right. Yeah, so this is rather tricky, but I just want to pinpoint a couple of points, couple of critical points. For example, like when black plays c5, knight a6, you should stop playing, avoid your opponent to play e5. And essentially here's the same. You should avoid giving your opponents the chance to play e5. So you have to play d4. And traditionally the idea is bishop g2, short castle, c4, knight c3. For example, I don't know, let's do something random. Something random. So let's say black played bishop f5. Okay, seemingly that's a good idea. Bishop g2, knight f6. I made a castle. Let's say black decided, okay, I'm not gonna do knight b4. And he played e6, which is okay move. So now you play c4. And again, typically d takes on c4 is gonna be met either by queen a4 ideas with knight e5 or queen c4 ideas, or perhaps something like knight e5 right away. Because it really makes sense to open this bishop. So you can already choose. So black probably would decline it, something like here. Now you are happy to trade. Knight c3, castle, bishop f4, giving you just an easy game. Rook c1, queen b3, knight e5, perhaps rook d1 first, then knight e5. And all of your pieces are joining the game. The knight on c6, I'm sure you've already noticed, is feeling sort of awkward, right? Because in this position, the pawn should be on c6 for black, not on c7, and the knight should be somewhere on d7. Yeah, so that would be a good position for black. Here on c6, it is sort of misplaced, but it doesn't mean it's not playable. All right. Now, let's go forward. And after d5, there is another move. Yeah, by the way, this move, I think, was played... Let me try to remember. Wasn't it the Isle of Man tournament? Let me try to remember. Yeah, here was this idea that Sergei Karyakin was playing against Kirill Alexeyenko. Now I don't remember which round was it. I think it was one of the decisive rounds. One of the late rounds in the Isle of Man last year when people were fighting for the wild card for the FIDE Candidates tournament, and which you know was conquered by Kirill Alexeyenko quite sensationally. Yeah, against the g6. Yeah, I see your question against the g6. I'll get there. Yeah. So he played knight e7. And again, I think the simple rule should be this. Yeah, don't play ultra bullet, Cody. Yeah, knight f3 g6. That I'll tell you a story about it. Knight e7. He wants to play e5, and again, you want to stop it. You don't want to allow it. And as far as I can see, you have two choices here. Either you play d4 and you switch to some kind of a d4 positions with an early knight on d7. It's not clear what's really doing there. Or you try to play something like c4. c4, d takes, with an idea to play something like knight a3. Although here specifically black can play e5, queen c2, otherwise knight c4 would be met by e4, and you have to be ready that black can take it here and try to protect his pawn. So it might be really not that simple. I do believe here is the best move d4, and this is in the game. Yeah, I hope I remember correctly. Sergei Karyakin against Kirill Alexeyenko. Alexeyenko won the game with black. He played knight b6. Quite a weird game. But again, if you're looking for a simple game, you shouldn't be concerned. I mean, what is the knight doing? Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's totally weird. But this is what Alexeyenko played. You can check the game. And the idea is to stop c4 from happening. And pretty much you can choose whatever you want. Some bishop g2, castle, bishop f4, or b3, bishop b2 makes sense because the knight is positioned here. And you just get quite a complex position. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Alexeyenko played it to kick Sergei Karyakin out of preparation. I think so at least, because knight d7 is already weird. And if you want to see more weirdness, yeah, white can prepare e4, definitely. I was playing in, which Olympiad was it? For Team Latvia? 2018, yeah, the last Olympiad in Batumi. Do you know what my opponent played here? What is his name? Guillermo Vasquez. What was he? International master, I think from Paraguay. Yeah, Latvia was playing against Paraguay. I think so, Paraguay. And he played b5. I mean, what is this, right? I mean, how do you play b5? And apparently you have to pick up the best continuation here. Now, if you're talking about funny lines, I mean, this is ridiculous, of course. But I did not pick it up. I was trying to make work somehow. e4. I think I played... What did I play? Bishop. I think I played this here. Knight g5. Bishop b7. Bishop g2. Knight here. Knight c3. Yeah, I think I played something like this. Because to me, in the game, this felt... Yeah, but it's not really that simple, Neil deal. Yeah, it is weird. Because... But when you look more deep at this position, Black can still switch to some e6, c6 and knight f6 ideas. And perhaps even the position might transpose to some Catalan. I mean, if you want a Catalan, there you go. d4, knight f6, here, here, here. Bishop e7, c4, c6. There you go. Classic Catalan. With a slightly weird order of the moves, but we're there. I mean, it is playable. It is weird. But, yeah, but I do believe that after d4, white is sort of better. But I wanted to show that the correct continuation after this funny move b5 is you have to play queen d3. And you're attacking the pawn and you're pushing e4. And that's it. White is automatically better. Yeah, queen d3. This queen d3 idea is quite paradoxical. No, it's sometimes it is available in some of the lines. Not sure if even that was the top choice of the engine. It's the most human continuation. If you see the move, then it's okay. What about d3? D3 I don't like, because if you play d3, Black plays e5. Now he's gonna play knight f6, bishop c5 and c6. It feels he has an excellent position. You are giving your opponent a good center. Although you could try to play something like, I don't know, e4, right? Black will take d takes, knight f6, bishop c5, and this position actually feels like sort of a worse version of Italian, because your bishop is going to be on g2 and not on c4. There's some pawn trades on the d file, but some kind of Italian rising position. Yeah, so this knight e7, of course, shouldn't be something to be concerned about, because you just play d4. Yeah, I'm not forgetting about g6, of course. But I would like to show the next system. Now we are covering anything d5 related. And Black plays c6. Yeah, of course, g3, of course, White plays first, g3, and c6. What's interesting about this move is that for some reason it's very popular. I mean, I've never really understood why. It sort of makes sense for Black to build a pawn chain against the bishop on g2, sort of diminish his ideas to strike in the long diagonal, making it a really powerful Catalan bishop. But I think perhaps the idea is to avoid any early c4 ideas, because Black can think about taking it and even protecting it with b5. I think so, at least. Yeah, because there are obviously some nuances. And if I would have to choose a more human move, I would probably choose knight f6 though. c6 comes together with an idea to play bishop g4. So that's the idea. So he plays bishop g4, sometimes with an idea to capture on f3 and perhaps push e5, but on most occasions it is really e6. So Black removes the bishop from c8 so that it's not imprisoned there, positions on g4, and intends to play knight e7, knight f6, not always knight f6 though, but it really depends how White will play it out. and depending on the situation, either e6 or e5. Now, here I've noticed from practical games that it's very tricky to include as early h3 as possible. Let me explain to you why. Sometimes, let's say white is gonna play something like, I'm gonna show you some couple of main lines, possible main lines. Let's say if you are not tackling with h3. So white starts to play short castle, knight d7. I have a choice between d4 and d3. Both are good. So I'll start with d3 because that's technically the Reti. e5, e4, captures, that's pretty much a classic. Knight f6, queen e2, bishop c5. And what was the line here? I think the knight goes typically to b3, knight b3, a4, a5, and at some moment, white plays h3. Black captures on f3, and we get a sort of a closed position. White has two bishops, and he could try to somehow outmaneuver his opponent, improve this bishop to h3, and it's a long maneuvering game. I have quite a good score here. That's option number one. So that's without early h3. But I'll show you this in the beginning so that you understand the difference. The option number two is to play d4. Seemingly, I mean, black should be happy about this position. Let's say he plays knight f6, c4. With the bishop out on g4, I think it's quite a risky business for black to accept a trade, to take on c4. D takes. Yeah, now I don't remember. I think it was knight a3 and b5 for some reason wasn't great. Okay, maybe because of knight e5. Yeah, because the bishop on g4 is feeling not so great. And you might have access to knight b5 and the bishop is targeting this long diagonal. That's at least the idea. Again, I'm showing everything from the memory. But the point is revealed after black plays e6. By standard, you want to take, because at some moment he is threatening to take on c4 here. And you'll have to figure out at which moment he is going to do it or not. So you're taking, c takes on d5, with the knight on d7 feels weird, because he would love to get the knight on c6, not on d7. So I think as soon as black has played knight e7, you're happy to take on d5. Although he could try to do this, but he is slightly worse. Knight c3, bishop f4, maybe knight e5. This knight on d7 pinning both knights together. Black is sort of worse, but still super solid. Super solid. But in most occasions, c takes on d5 is met by e takes on d5. And now there's this idea to play queen b3, queen b6, queen e3 check, bishop e7, and this gives nothing. It gives nothing because we did not include h3. Now, let's wind back. Let's wind it back. After bishop g4, I propose, let's think about h3. So, your opponent might automatically retreat. So, h3, bishop h5. Makes sense, right? Now you do exactly the same. Short castle. Your opponent is playing knight d7. Again, you have a choice between d4 and d3. Let's say you start with d3. Yeah, okay, knight f6 is perhaps more tricky, not to allow immediate e4. After knight f6, there is such a move as queen e1. And still you are gonna play e4. Let's say e5, e4, d takes. And what you might realize is that you have already played h3 and your opponent hasn't taken f3 yet. So something like bishop c5, knight bd2, here, knight b3, here. You might have, at the right time, this idea to retreat with this knight from d2, maybe not here really, to c4, but this bishop close forever. So that's the difference. The bishop is already on h5. It cannot retreat from g4 to e6. You have cut it out at the queen side. The second idea here is to activate this knight on f3 through h4. Knight h4, knight f5, and if black is ever gonna take it on f5, you take with the e-pawn and you open this bishop. It might seem, I mean, what is this? What is the difference? I mean, there is a difference, because if you would get this position without including h3 and bishop h5, if you would play h3, in most occasions he would happily take on f3. That is the difference. So you include h3 as early as possible. And the second idea is if you play d4 instead of the d3, you play d4, okay, e6, c4, still the same idea. Again, d takes on c4, I think it's quite a risky business. I mean, it is possible, of course, but with the bishop here on standing on king's side, for black it's going to be very risky business to play b5 and weaken the pawn on c6 and the long diagonal. So there's even some thematic ideas as queen c2, b5, and sometimes the white just plays b3. Yeah, he just ignores it. b3, c takes, a takes. That's it. He's happy about the position. And then he just grabs everything in the center. Black is supposedly happy with his pawn, but his position is just terrible. But the point is revealed after c4, knight f6. Again, we are taking on d5. E takes. And now, because of this inclusion of h3 and bishop h5, you have access to a wonderful maneuver, which is, now I don't remember, was it immediately queen b3 though, or knight h4? Knight h4. So the point is, you want to play knight f5. The bishop is not standing here anymore. And after bishop e7, you can already think about some funny ideas as, what was it? Yeah, let me try to remember. g4, f4, was it here? I think it was like this. Here, here, g4, here, f4, yeah, I'm trying to remember. No, apparently not. Okay, computer says I'm wrong. I'm just mixing up the idea. Or you can at least try to take this bishop, bishop g6, takes, and just play the position with a two bishop advantage, knight c3, bishop f4, and just get a very good playable position after the opening. The second idea is queen b3, attacking the pawn. Rook b8 is impossible because of bishop f4, and after queen b6, queen e3 check. Here, now you again play knight h4. Perhaps this is more tricky. And you still have the idea to capture this bishop by playing f4, g4, f5. Sometimes it works. Okay. I know I already probably start to speak quantum physics here, but I just wanted to explain this idea that h3 is really simple continuation, really great. If black takes on f3, you could just take with the bishop, press C to play d3, e4, the bishop goes back. Or I've played a couple of times myself, you can play e takes on f3. This is quite interesting actually. Which chessbook do I like the most? Too advanced. Okay, I'll try to write it simply down. And your plan is to play f2, f4, d3, knight d2, knight f3 with an easy game. For example, here, and not d4, but d3. Here, and something like bishop e3, knight e5, rook e1, very easy game. Super simple. Okay. Now, somebody asked me in the chat what to do after g6. Let me tell you a secret. G6 is the professional approach. G6 switches directly to the Grunfeld, because your opponent is going to play bishop g7 and he still wants to play e5. That was one of the reasons why I stopped playing the Reti. I sort of got fed up. I mean, it's not because it's bad. I was playing Reti at a competitive level, up to 2600 and higher. I think the highest was 2700 level players. When we have London system, I don't know, I'm not playing London. I mean, what can I say? I mean, no, not really Sleepy Mar. Yeah, I mean, d-Dex on c4 is a possibility. But I think the point is, after c4, black is going to play d4. And, you know, I'm going to show you one game you're going to so laugh. Wait a second, I need to find these games first. Let me check. It's quite funny. Prepare against white. There was once quite a funny story how I was playing against one of the leading French players, Laurent Fressinet. Yeah, I just need to find it. Okay, it's here. So I'm gonna show you a game. It started with something else. So imagine. Kramnik likes Reti, Aronian liked Reti quite a lot. And London system, everybody loves it, of course. And back in 2017, I was playing against Laurent Fressinet. And we played this opening. I played c4. I was playing for Team Saint-Quentin in France, in the French league. We switched to d5. I decided for the first time, I'm going to play knight f3. First time. My opponent very quickly responded with g6. So I was like, okay, here we go again. Again, those Reti, anti-Reti players, because when I play Reti, people had discovered. Yeah, it's English, but it comes with a different order of the moves. So again, my opponent tries to do Grunfeld against me. So I played Queen a4, quite a rare move. Queen a4, I mean, wow, I thought that's quite a nice idea. Specifically just for this game, because I'm threatening to take c-Dex in d5. He cannot recapture with a pawn, because there's a pin. So I want to take the center, then play knight c3, e4, d4, you name it. He played very quickly d4. I thought, okay. I played here, bishop g7, short castle, e5, d3, knight e7, very quickly, knight b2, castle b4, knight d7. My opponent was blitzing this out. And I was surprised. I mean, what is this? Is this really the level of the world champions coach? Because Laurent Fressinet is known as a second of Magnus Carlsen. And when I was playing against him, I think, oh my goodness. I mean, so this is how it is, right? At that level, they know everything. I mean, they know everything. I mean, I just picked this completely random line, and he knows this. I was really, wow, huge respect. And I played the game. We finished in a draw. First, I offered. No, I think he offered. I declined. Then I offered. He declined. Then he finally offered. I started to smile and I agreed. But after the game, I asked my opponent, how do you do this? I mean, how do you prepare so much? I mean, how did you know this line? And he said to me, but I already played this line in this opening. I mean, in this tournament. I said, no. That's not possible. I saw all of your games. You did not play this. And he said, yeah, I did. I just chose a completely different order of the moves. And the line he was playing in another game was something like knight f3, d5, g3, g6, c4, c6, bishop g2, bishop g7, queen a4, d4. So you get the idea. So he had played exactly the same line already. When I was preparing against him, I did not notice. Because he was playing something else. I felt so embarrassed because I was feeling in the game, wow. I mean, wow, this is top level, really. Total noob. Yeah, total noob. So I just said, I was so laughing at myself that I explained to him, yeah, I just completely missed this game. You played like 3 days ago and I did not even see it because you started with a different order than moves. So this is really how things can happen. Yeah, even at the professional level. Anyway, let's go back to this position. And after g6, you have a couple of choices here. The simplest choice is you switch to the symmetrical Grunfeld, which is bishop g2, bishop g7, and d4. Again, I don't think you should be happy to allow e5. So you play d4, knight f6, castle, castle, and I've played quite a share of c4, d takes, but okay, this is gonna be quite difficult stuff because you do need to know this. Do need to study some symmetrical Grunfeld. So if you don't want to do this, there is perhaps a simpler approach that Sleepy Mario already, I think, sort of suggested it. That you can try to play early c4. If your opponent is gonna take, now you just play knight a3 and knight c4. That's the idea. Typically here, black does play d4, bishop g2, here, castle, e5, d3, and with quite a simple plan. So the plan is b4, knight bd2, knight b3, and make at the right time perhaps to push e3, and I think this is still quite reasonable position, although black has sort of taken control of the center, but still your bishop on g2 is feeling very much alive. Yeah, for some reason I never really tried this. So the only try for me was including with queen a4 here. Yeah, like I explained, after c4, yeah, c6 and queen a4. This is what I tried. With the idea to include c takes on d4. But okay, this is also quite a playable line. What I play against Freyssinet here. e5, castle, knight e7, and proceed something simple as b4, knight bd2, bishop b2, perhaps c5, knight c4, and yeah, kind of banco, exactly. But again, I mean, I'm not sure if this is really Reti, because a classical Reti, when we're talking about a Reti, would be after g3, g6, here, just to play a castle, and play d3. This is sort of boring, to be honest, because black can play, I mean, he can play something like knight e7 or knight c6. Okay, knight e7, e4, d takes, queen takes, rook takes, and I wish you good luck to win this position because it's gonna be quite difficult to do. Right. So that's the reason. Now I told you. Yeah, that's the reason why I switched from playing just Reti, and I started to include some c4 ideas. So I realized just with a simple knight f3, g2, bishop g2, this g6 is quite an annoying move. But as I came to notice, it is really common between high-level players. Yeah, people who have studied this, they all seem to share the same knowledge that you have to play against g3, g6. So there must be somebody who wrote a book or something, because everybody using the same. c3, queen f4, and queen h4. What is that? I mean, you can improvise if you want. Like this? I mean, g6, c3? Why not? And check, right? That looks rather funny, actually. No, I don't think it's really that serious. No, I don't think that's real. I don't think that's real. All right. But, I mean, in a blitz game, why not? And then there's some other continuations as knight f6, g3, d5, bishop g2, e6. And this is one of d3 by black. Yeah, Sinister Clip says, see your question, but to which position do you refer? I think you refer something like, you mean here, right? Something like here, d3. But I don't really think that d3, yeah, I don't think that d3 should be a big deal, because he is wasting tempo, and you are gonna win sometime by driving the queen away. For example, let's say short castle, you just ignore this pawn, bishop g7, I don't know, knight c3, knight f6, and maybe something like knight e5. I mean, why not? This makes sense. D takes, queen e2, you have a very powerful bishop. You could play d3, bishop f4, rook d1, and afterwards play d4. So for black, it really looks questionable. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Drink now. All right, I did it. So I think it's quite a risky approach for black to spend 2 tempos just to play d3 and afterwards d takes on e2. But I mean, if somebody likes it, he can do it, of course. What I would like to show is this tricky system with e6. It is super solid, and many people who are playing Catalan as the main opening, they are choosing this. But here, thankfully, we have quite a lot of choices. Now, you can switch to classical Catalan. It's okay. It's okay line. The best book by Reti, I would say, which is the most known author of Reti, I think it's... oh, maybe I'm mixing up. I thought that was Michael Marin, but maybe I'm mixing up again. Maybe he was more concentrating on c4. I would suggest just to check the best games by Vladimir Kramnik, Levon Aronian. They were the biggest practitioners of the Reti. Yeah, b3. That's a very good question, Sleepy Mario. I've played some quite shares of b3, early b3s. Yeah, this is what I wanted to suggest, actually. For example, I had... yeah, I would like to show you some games if I'll have the time, because there's so much to show. But you can try. Yeah, you can try to play some early b3s. Early b3s, bishop b2, and if you manage to get this position, I think you should be already happy. So black typically plays c5, and you are aiming for d4. This is your position, what you are aiming for. If you manage to get this, this is perfect. But you have to play d4 before black does. If you're going to make a castle, black is going to play d4, and now you cannot do it anymore. And your bishop is sort of trapped. Yeah, very, very, very good question. But it really depends. Again, it's quite important, the order of the moves. So you could actually start with a move like c4. Yeah, again, I'm not so sure if this is really technically a Reti. Maybe it's already switching to English opening. So, for example, black does play bishop e7, b3, short castle, and I think we're already quite happy. c5, short castle, knight c6, and take, take, and d4. If he takes with a knight, we don't have to push d4. Now we can play d3, knight e2, a3, and just enjoy a good position. I think it's... What should black play against Reti? I think I already showed you several continuations where black gets a reasonable game. One of the most annoying is the second move g6. Definitely. But then again, you'd have to be a Grunfeld player. If you're not a Grunfeld player with black, you cannot really do this because the position transposes to an exchange Grunfeld. Yeah, but I think in these types of positions, why, by the way, I wanted to make an addition that I've always been quite a big fan of early knight f3s and c4s. And now if we are comparing, because I've played my fair share of c4 first move, I've played my fair share of knight f3 first move, and I've tried to combine them together, making it one of the first and the second is the second move. Here the problem, at least I think so, the problem of c4 is black plays d4. And I do think that d4, for example, if you're interested in this as opponent, as from black's perspective, this is a really great continuation. And the point is that e3, you don't play c5, but you play knight c6 with the idea to push e5. And black pretty much equalizes the position very, very quickly. Something like takes, 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 knight c3. And the idea was, I don't remember, maybe g6, bishop g7, and knight h6. That was the idea, at least from black's perspective, to counter the center with knight f5 and bishop e3. Yeah. That's the problem. But if we are getting to this position after g3, knight f6, bishop g2, e6, c4. Yeah, knight h6, that's a classic move. Black can still play d4. I think it's quite a challenging move. And professionals do understand this. Those who have studied these types of positions, they do understand that d4 is quite challenging because black is fighting for space advantage. He is willing to play either c5, knight c6, or perhaps even more simple, knight c6 and e5, even if it did cost him a tempo. So something like short castle. Now, what was it? No, I don't think it was short castle. I think it was e3. Yeah, e3. We are not allowing this knight c4 so easily to be played. And now for some reason knight c6 was worse. Takes, takes. Castle. Yeah, now I don't remember. Here. Okay, this I'm guessing already. For some reason this was not great. Yeah, chess lab style, I see your question. It is played. There were some high level games. Yeah, b4. And there were some quite crazy lines. For example, f6 is quite a challenging continuation. I play this from black's perspective. So black wants to push e5. And the main line goes e3, e5. E takes on d4 typically is bad because of e4. Queen e2, queen e7, knight goes away, and boom, knight c6. Very, very annoying. Yeah, this I remember. But the point is, after e5, there is quite a sharp theory. c5, the bishop goes here. a5. Now I don't remember. What was the nuance here? Should black include bishop b5 check or not? Seemingly this was a drawish line as far as I remember. But the point was knight e5. Or maybe it was bishop c4. Now I don't remember. bishop c4, 8 takes, and... No, I'm sorry. Now I'm mixing up. Or was it knight e5 though? With the point that f takes queen h5 was a draw. Somehow. Check. Here, here. And somehow this was... Yeah, knight e5. Yeah, Sleepy Mario, you're right. But there's one little point I would like to add. Black does not have to do all of this, because after b4, I do believe there is a much more simple continuation, bishop g4. Yeah, so the idea is very simple. Knight e5, I don't remember, I think it was bishop f5, and then we are gaining a tempo with f6, at least I think so. But one of the main lines was queen b3. Now we take it here, here, and simply c6. c6, knight f6, e5. Very easy game for black, nothing to know here. And comparing to that line with f6, e5, sacrifices on e5, I studied this some long time ago. As you see, I already forgot everything. Yeah, if I spent some time on the board, then I would perhaps remember it, but I don't at the moment. So that's the problem. I think that's the problem of c4. That d4 is very strong. And even after g3, knight f6, bishop g2, e6, here black has option. You're welcome. White after c4, black has the option to play d4. And very commonly, as strange as it is, this position switches to a modern Benoni. Now we are playing e3, c5. Again, I don't remember when knight c6 was bad. There was a reason. Yeah, there was a reason why knight c6 was not really that great. As far as I remember, maybe it was really short castle, e5, and just take. Maybe it was like this. Takes, takes, and white simply has a better piece placement. And again, a very powerful bishop on g2. Yeah, maybe it was like this. Yeah. So instead of this, black typically would play after e3, c5. Now we happily take it here, or maybe just postpone for one move, doesn't really matter. Takes, takes. Short castle, knight c6, and e3. And if you have some... yeah, congratulations, of course, on your new job, Fat Cody. Everybody's happy. What job did you get? So if you have some knowledge, some basic knowledge on the modern Benoni, it would help. So you just position the pieces actively. Typically, the knight goes to a3 and c2, and you want to push b3, a3, b4. So something like, let's say, I don't know, maybe bishop e7. There's bishop e7 and bishop d6, two continuations. Rook e1 here, knight a3, very easy moves. This typically is better for white because we gain a very good line at the b file for our rook. And if black doesn't take it, he does no clue really what he's supposed to do here. Maybe knight e7 to push e5. Something like this. And you might already have a b4 right away. b4, b5, if some f6, knight h4, bishop e4 ideas. So this feels like really great modern Benoni. And that's what I love about this position. So if you're comparing this position after knight f3, d5, c4, d4, and now you would play g3. This is not the same because black is not wasting time on e6. He's going to play knight c6 and e5 right away. But if our opponent is supposedly, he has supposedly wasted the tempo on e6, then we can try to include early c4. and that after d4 we should have a favorable modern Benoni structure. So if black doesn't do all of this, again, bishop e7, we are aiming for early b3. d4 is gonna be most likely the same. e3, c5, e takes, d takes, short castle, d3, knight a3, knight c2, rook e1. All of these moves are the same. And you try to push a3, b4. And if black doesn't do this, you simply position the bishop here. So yeah, c5 is of course very tempting. Something like b6, castle, bishop b7. Again, a lot of improvisation here. Quite a lot. Yeah, so again, I would probably propose to take c takes, e takes, and d4. Knight c3, e3, queen c2, rook c1, rook d1. Rich game. Yeah, I see you already are having a celebration there. Congratulations, Cody, again. Yeah, so you can switch to that, but I would like to show you another interesting system here, which perhaps has more similarity to a classical Reti. Essentially, you switch to a closed French. After short castle, you play d3, knight bd2, and e4. And perhaps we could talk about this position. I think I should make a separate bootcamp about this position, because the traditional idea is if black plays c5, e4, knight c6, here, 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 you are proceeding with a kingside attack. And it's quite dangerous. In terms of, I mean, computer doesn't really like this position for white. He says black is better. But I've played this position up to a GM level, and everybody is always concerned about the king's well-being. So something like, I don't know, a5, h4, b4, here, a4, a3, bam, bam. There's some major theory here. And here black would have to understand that somehow he is not getting mated there. And from afar, I mean, yeah, maybe Fisher, I don't remember already, but this line was quite popular. This is the so-called closed French. But I think this is a separate topic. So I would like to discuss this. Like a simple weapon against the French. Yeah, right. A simple weapon against the French. I like this. I like this. I'm going to talk about this in my next book. Yeah, I mean, of course, you can still switch to the Catalan. And comparing with the Catalan, you have avoided some of the lines. So here, castle, bishop e7, d4. It might seem, oh, okay, I'm playing a boring Catalan. But if you would play the classical way, d4, knight f6, no, I'm sorry. It's d5, knight c4, e6. This is the classical. This is the classical Catalan. There are so many sidelines you have to know. Sideline number 1, black captures and never gives it away. Or knight c6. Sideline number 2, black plays bishop b4 check, bishop d2, and either plays here or bishop e7. Another line to study. And the bishop on d2 sort of is misplaced. So if you're starting with a Reti, like this, and switching to a Catalan, you've at least avoided those positions. And even this position, I mean, what do you need to know here? c4, c6, just play knight b2, b3, bishop b2, and super solid. Even there's quite a big theory, obviously. All of the pieces are on the board, all of the pawns are on the board, and a great position to get after the opening, and you don't need to know much. Yeah. So when you would be starting to play these lines, I would suggest for you to pay attention on some of the lines when black captures the pawn and tries to keep it, and that's what you need to know. Or he immediately tries to grab the center. If he does nothing of that, you have quite a lot of freedom. So you can improvise how you want. And finally we have come. Yeah, so that's like running forward with the entire Reti. I think I already included some of the English opening because, like I said, Reti technically I think doesn't really include c4. Black can try to play King's Indian. Yeah, so that's a little annoyance, to be honest. Pretty much that's the reason why I wouldn't play the Reti against people who play King's Indian. But there is one way how you can still get a very simple to play position, which I think I already played in one game. I'll show you this game actually. I had quite big plans to show you quite many games, but I don't think I'll have the time. So I'd like to show you this game. But I started with a different order of moves. Okay, doesn't matter really? Doesn't matter? Yeah, okay, started it's... No, wait. That's wrong. This is not it. This is not it. So this is gonna be the right game. You know, when I switched, I mean, like I said in the beginning, I was an e4 player, and I included knight f3 just to build some castle in the beginning. Oh, thank you, Slav, for subscription. One more, thank you very much, appreciate it. So one of the reasons why I switched to knight f3 because it was something new, more positionally based, and after I got fed up with d5 and g6, I switched to the English opening. I started to play quite a lot of c4. And I was looking at my opponents. When my opponent wouldn't play c4, e5, the first move, I mean, I didn't mind really play this. And after knight f6, I would play knight f3 and still switch to some kind of Reti kind positions, and I've avoided early d5, d4 ideas. And I could always include early b3, bishop b2. For example, c4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, and b3. What's there to know? I'm very easy. d5, bishop b2, c5, takes. And even here, I think, yeah, even here is d4 possible. d4, e3, bishop e2, short castle, except of g3. Yeah. And again, black is left with an isolated pawn on d5. Can you play g3, knight f3, bishop g2, and d4? Yeah, see, Gustav's your question, but the problem is, your opponent is gonna push e5. Now, wait a second, I'm not sure You mean g3 the first move? You can play, but you don't control the e5 square. So I think you have to at least try to play out your opening the way that you are trying to control these squares in the first two moves. Either it's e4, d4, or one of my favorites, knight f3, c4. For example, knight f3, knight f6, c4. Great. So if I see my opponent is playing d5, I won't play c4 because of d4. I'll check if the same opponent after c4, if he doesn't play e5, he's going to play knight f6, I'm going to play now knight f3, and I'm controlling these squares. Yeah, g3 first move is playable, but I think then you would have to continue with something else. After g3, e5, it would make sense that you would continue with c4. As essentially you've changed the order of the moves with c4 first move, e5 first move, and g3 the second move. Which is quite an interesting continuation. Another interesting topic to discuss, but we're not going to do it today. Another point after g3, d5. Here I think you have to play knight f3 to stop e5, because if black plays the first two moves, d5 and e5, well, I can't help you there. I mean, black is just getting an excellent position. You'll be fighting for equality. I mean, of course you can do this. You can do it. G3, D5, B3. But you're automatically worse. You gave up the center for no good reason, and your opponent can just play out the opening how he wants. So if you still don't want to study hard your theory as white, just play knight f3. Just play Reti. I think it's quite easy. Again, yeah, so the point what I wanted to say, where was this game? Yeah, this game. I was playing this year before the coronavirus exploded. I was playing in February, end of February in Germany. Things were still normal back then, and people were discussing about the new virus. It wasn't really that big deal back then. You might still remember it. And I was playing against, from which country is it? Milos Stankovic, from Croatia maybe. Yeah, I don't know. And against him, I played b3 because he is a King's Indian player. And I think this is a great system against people who play King's Indian. It could have been the same, for example, g3, g6, and now I play b3. It's exactly the same. Here, 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 bishop g2, and if d5, c4. And very easy to play position. By the way, computer fully supports your choice. But in the game, what happened? I'm sorry, I somehow jumped ahead. I played b3, the second move, for the sake of improvisation. Bishop b2 and g3. So as soon as my opponent would play d5, instead of, here for example, he would play d5, I have to watch out for c5. For example, bishop g2, c5. Well, I mean, although it is of course possible, and play some kind of modern Benoni. But although my opponent has not wasted time for e6, and the bishop on g7 is feeling quite active, so probably as soon as my opponent would play d5, I would include c4 and threaten to take it here, so that he has no time to play c5 and d4 to close this bishop. This did not happen in the game. He played d6. I included d4. Very easy improvisation. And the point is, double fianchetto. I think that's always a great idea. Maybe I actually should have started with this. With this double fianchetto. But the point is, I haven't really played it so much with white, this double fianchetto, because I was typically relying just on the Reti. And b3, bishop b2, I have some games, but not really that many. So the point is here, revealed after short castle, bishop g2, black might have at some time this typical move e5, e5, d takes, and knight g4. But what I really like about this position, now you can simply play knight c3, and d takes doesn't really look that great because you're forcing his knight to retreat to h6, and even something like, I don't know, e4. Even e4, and you're automatically better because the knight on h6 is not doing much. So he is actually forced to recapture here with a piece, and you're automatically getting a slightly better position. Takes, something like queen d2, maybe even a long castle, e3, and thank you Slav for your subscription again, and I'll upload obviously the video later at YouTube, and see you in my next streams, of course. Thank you. So this b3 forced my opponent to play something else. He included a5, and after knight c3, I'm already aiming to play e4. He switched to some kind of symmetrical Grunfeld. Except my knight is standing here. And after bishop g2, here, knight e5, black did not get out of the opening. So I think this actually is quite a great setup. Knight f3, b3 and bishop g2. So probably against King's Indian players. So knight f3, knight f6, g3, g6, b3. Let's say bishop g7, bishop b2, short castle, bishop g2. You're watching out what your opponent is gonna do. And let's say he is gonna play something like d5. Now you have to watch out for c5. Now you push c4. c5, you just take it. You don't allow him to push d4. If he's playing d6, you don't want him to allow to play e5. You play d4. e5 I already explained. c5, yeah, I'm not really sure about this move. I think you can play something like a short castle. e3, c4, knight c3 should be easy game for you. And he could try to play some kind of a c5, changing the order of the moves. Again, insisting to play d5 the next move. And again, you have to include c4. What happens if your opponent copies? I mean, you have one extra tempo. So, shouldn't really... you know, all-time 12, it's more complex than that. I mean, I don't think I'm capable to answer this in 10 minutes. It's definitely more complex, but I'll just try to simplify. In general, you should try to stop your opponent to push c5, d5, d4, close the bishop on b2. When you have the bishop on b2 already, if he has not wasted tempos on moves like e6, it's not really that simple. So if you have a chance, try to avoid it. If your opponent has, for example, played it out in not the best way to go to this position, for example, something like this. Oh, wait. Let's say knight f3, knight f6, g3. Let's say in this order the moves, like this. I think this is already acceptable for you. Acceptable position to get modern Benoni. So now you play e3, c5, takes. He has wasted tempo on e6. The bishop is not so active on g7. And you have not yet positioned the bishop on b2. Yeah, but again, I'll tell you honestly, it's more complicated than that. So for sake of simplicity, if you have the chance, don't allow it. Just watch out for your opponent. You can aim for double fianchetto for a simple position, but again, watch out for your opponent's attempts to grab the center, like e5, d6, e5, or d5, c5, so that you don't have access to c4. So you should play c4 as soon as your opponent pushes either c5 or d5. This already invites you to play c4 right away. If your opponent plays d6, you have to push d4. There's nothing better. And this doesn't mean you have to push c4 afterwards. There's a very simple idea. For example, short castle and knight c3. Oh, wait. Not knight c3 here. This is wrong. Not here. Where was it? Bishop g2. Maybe it was here. Knight d7 and knight c3 now. Yeah, I don't really remember. I think it was like this. And you want to play short castle and e4 and aim for a very simple position. I think I sort of already answered that, Sleepy Mario. Right. Yeah, so that's about that. Very, very probably basically scratching the surface. Stream lag? I had the stream lag? I didn't know. Right. So I hope I managed to explain to you some details, some ideas. Of course, there's more continuations like this. There's b6 first move, g6 first move, but even if you don't need all of these nuances, I think this is still a great setup for white. Just very quickly aim for development of the king side. Think about playing early b3, bishop b2 ideas, some early c4 to counter the center. If you have the chance to create an isolated pawn for your opponent, go for it, which typically is met at these lines, something like this. Okay, maybe the order of the moves could be better. Let's say around this, right? If you get some kind of a disposition, I think this is already quite a great achievement. Not particularly this position, but just the idea. Or just build a small castle, bishop g2 castle, d3, knight e2, e4, e5, and just enjoy your game. You're afraid of e5, f5, f4. Yeah, but how do you get that? I'm not sure. It really depends. I mean, maybe it's because after d5, g3, knight c6. All time. Ah, you mean in that line. Second move g6, all time, yes? Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, we discussed this. I mean, here, if black plays knight c6, we have to push d4. But after g6, I said, yeah, this is the best continuation. I think so, for black. The most annoying. So, you have a choice. Like I explained, either you push c4 and go for this position and try to organize a game at the queen side and enjoy the benefits of this bishop, or you have to switch to the symmetrical Grunfeld. So this would be somebody who is playing consistently Grunfeld. So for example, if you know that your opponent is playing Grunfeld and you are going to play the Reti, it really makes sense that he is going to play d5, g6. Like this. Yeah, listen guys, I have to finish. I would love to talk about this 4 hours, definitely. So I think for my next bootcamp, I'm gonna do the perhaps continue this topic with more specific direction. Is go for this closed French the Reti position, which arises here, because it's rather interesting. Here this d5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, e6, d3, knight d2, e4. Yeah, thank you, Sleepy Mario again. Yeah, this time it was slightly shorter than usual. Something else coming up, so I cannot really talk so much today. But I hope at least you managed to get at least some kind of impression, some kind of understanding about the Reti, even if you did not. And I hope you'll find for it a good use and use it in your own games. Yeah, so again, thank you guys. Yeah, thank you Hunfin, All Time, Sleepy Mario, everybody who was here in the chat. Of course, thank you Chess Lifestyle for this subscription. I'm still having this sub goal. As you can see, it's here in the red bar. I'm aiming for my sub goal, which is 20 subs. When I'll reach it, I'll organize a special event of a sub. What is a sub? Simul against the subs. Yeah, which I'll stream for a special event. So I hope to reach it anytime soon. And in the meantime, if you like, please consider to subscribe, or at least visit my next streams. Thank you guys. Yeah, 10 subs to go. Yeah, slowly, but we are getting here. Hydrate, last hydrate, come on. And see you, I think, in 2 days. Okay, thank you, and bye-bye.